I just put a bunch of boxes up and I upload pictures in PowerPoint. You know, I'm not artistic, but I am pragmatic and I've enjoyed what I've been able to do. So you can all do things like that. Today, Second Life is no longer the only show on the show there. I think somebody's got their mic on. Yeah, if you put your mic off, I promise you I'll give you back your, or does somebody have something specific they want to say? Should I give you guys the mic? Okay. But keep in mind, when you see things, you can design any world you want. It can be something from fairies to monsters. It can be science simulations to atoms. It can be museums. It can be works of art. As you start looking around Second Life, you'll find lots of other places that have been built. Now, Second Life became much more expensive for education institutions, and also the code that renders these 3D buildings was made open source. And do any of you want to conjecture what open source means? David's moving in the right directions. There are free alternatives now. Has anyone heard of open source? Yeah. You can download the code. And I did that. I have sims. They call these islands sims. They're simulated. I have the code on my computer, and I can make a beautiful island, but to communicate out to the world, I really need to know networking. So what I did instead was, I'm running some islands for a private school. I rented them, and the rental prices are coming way down, and I'm hoping to entice a number of you to join me in the virtual course that I'll be teaching, and we'll explore more together. But today you can build, and I will put a little website together and send you the links. There are beautiful materials that people are making available for free. There's someone called Linda Kelly, and I'm going to see if I can spell it right. I think it's at Linda, KELLIE.com. I put her in the chat, who is making free islands that you can completely upload once you either have your own sim on your computer or whether you're renting space. So today it's accessible to everyone. So keep on dreaming, and I will help you. But once you've made an island, you have to start thinking about all the other things, which is why emerging technologies come in handy. Who are you going to invite to your island? Do you want it to be private or public? This is a public island right now. Nobody can build on it, but people at Empire State College, people have permission, and I will get you permission in some of the sandboxes if you're interested in building. But it's open to the public. People can walk through, and that can be a problem for K-12 schools, which is the area I work in. So you can decide, if you create your own island, whether you want it open or closed or open to certain people. So that's all up to you. And if any of you saw Nicola's presentation, she brought us to something called the Isle of Worms, WYRMS, and that I think is open to the public, but it has rules. So if you look at another one of my little markers here on the very bottom, if you make your own island, you're going to start to think about governance. Who do you want on it? Are you going to have certain times of day that certain activities happen on it? You know, so you're taking on an environment. It might be something that Hattie might eventually think about. We're not going to build a whole island in this course. In the other course, because we just don't have time, it's pretty complex. There is a course, I forget what they're calling it. I think after you've taken the first basic courses, there's one called Virtual Building. And if you're interested in it, email me and I'll find it when we can run it next. You can build that one any place. My objective is to get you started, and we'll look at the different types of islands that are available. And I'll kind of guide you. It'll be very open and interactive, but you could get one of the free islands. If you're resourceful, there is something called, I think it's opensim.org. Don't quote me on that. You want to look it up. It's called Open Simulator. When Second Life first made their code available, a number of vendors got together, and there's a whole community, a wiki-based community of people who are developing their own islands. And over time, I'm going to keep on inviting you to more and more of these resources. And I'm hoping if you guys join me in the virtual course, we can really focus on this, develop our own learning communities. Oh, can you hear me? I'm breaking up again. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, sorry. So, a lot of people are afraid of virtual reality because it is so open-ended. You make the rules, you make the schedules, but that's the beauty of it. Phyllis, I know in your area with retail and some of the stuff I saw you doing, I mean, this would just be perfect for you. Okay, matter of fact, I just got invited to a tour. I mean, there are tons of things going on. We're just going to scratch the surface and certainly not cover even much today. But let me show you some of what I've done to brag a little bit. But see if you can just zoom in on this, a little text-based. But my goal, my primary job, is to get people ready to be teachers in K-12 environments. And have any of you heard of K-12 or places with virtual reality that kids might be in today, and it's probably not an education area? Any other places with virtual reality? Yep, video games. World of Warcraft, yep. Have any of you done World of Warcraft? I haven't done it myself. I kind of wish I had the time, but kids are there. So for teachers, and maybe Hattie someday with her museum, and Jennifer, I'm going to catch up with you later and find out what you're up to. Being able to create simulated environments can be very important for K-12. And of course in Mallet, we're going to kind of tease you in a little bit with this course, but we have a full course, and it could even become a focus for your entire portfolio if you choose, would be using virtual reality. So we're only at the beginning. Yeah, World of Warcraft is free. Let me see. It's free to play if you don't mind restrictions. It might be interesting to just start playing with it a little bit. Now, I'm going to show you, let me see if I can pull the slide over. Oh, that is the one I have. Some of the things that I've done. And, okay, can you see that group of kids there? Okay, in the summer, I work with an urban program out of University at Albany, which is where I got my doctorate. And we were getting kids to develop virtual islands. And unfortunately, we had all sorts of trouble with permissions and viewers, etc. So we didn't get as much time as we hoped. But as you might guess, the kids already were quite comfortable with virtual reality, and they took no time. You know, you and I will feel a little clumsy and awkward. So here you see the kids working with the computers, and this was just a close-up of one young man. They really enjoyed the avatars. Interestingly, most of the kids were African American, and so I put in avatars and I tried to find skin colors that would match the children. Before I knew it, they had turned themselves into generally white avatars, and half of the boys had made themselves into an avatar that looked like, and if you know Kill Bill, I think it was a movie with the blonde woman. Yeah. Pretty soon they all were Kill Bill wandering around the island. Yeah, and martial arts. So many people do studies and research into the role playing. You know, it's not something I do, but it's open-ended. I've been, you know, I'm a college teacher and I do practical things, and I don't know if either Danu or Jennifer here, and Danu is Hattie in real life, were there, but the Dean of Graduate Studies, he's now moved on, he's the Vice Provost of Innovation, wonderful man, was willing to come to my class and talk. So he's the person in green in the back there. I've had people come to my class at different times. Teachers come in and explain their teaching. It's a great place to meet people. I've had some people come who were dealing with assistive technologies, and they came to my class. As you go around the island, knowing that I have a science focus, I'm just going to show you a few science pictures. There are other other islands where you can come into a lot of different type of interactivities. It all depends on what they built. Now, I went to this interactive map a couple of years ago. I tried to go back, and they're not there anymore. A lot of educational places got kind of moved out because of cost. And there's a whole new set of islands being developed. And so I'm going to go, and I hope some of you will join me, finding some of the places these islands have moved to. What I was interested, though, was creating my own island. And if you see here, I created an island and rented it for 2 years. It's just becoming too expensive. I'm going to let the rental run out, and I'm starting an island somewhere else on another. I'm using something called Dreamland Metaverse. If you're interested, it's been a pretty stable island. Whoops. It does cost me $45 a month, but I thought it was worth it. And it's called, I think it's www.Dreamland Metaverse. You might want to look that up. But I'm moving over. But this was my lovely island. And do you see some of the buildings there? They were all created. You have any guess as to how old the creator was? Some of you might know it was a 13-year-old. A 13-year-old who's interested in becoming an architect. So there's no... kids are very comfortable in this environment. Now, unfortunately, this particular island is disappearing, but I'm making more. It's for me, very good to see. You could see we made the island look a little bit like the United States so that we could do some science on it. And we did some projects, I did some research, and these were just a few pictures taken from the kids that came into this research project. If you'll notice in the top picture, there's a very tall young lady actually with a green shirt on. And I don't know if you can see that in the back, the top little snippet there. I knew her personally. These kids were from all over the Northeast. They were here in virtual reality, but some were on Long Island, some were in Virginia, some were in Albany. I worked with one in Albany. She was the youngest. She was 10 years old. She deliberately made her avatar the tallest she could. So there's a lot of research going on into what type of identities people bring to a virtual space. And when you're working with kids who can be shy, you may find that they have a whole new persona when they come into virtual spaces. So you'll want to think about your own audience, but for that audience. Now, every semester my students meet in virtual space, but in the summer course they actually met in this space, and they each had a pod that they decorated. It wasn't anything too fancy. It was pretty much like what you see here. But they decorated their pods and had presentations to each other. And if you look at this slide, this was a pod created by two science teachers, and they made a tour of a park. They put the kind of the field trip was explained in the pod so that students could come learn about the field trip and then go out in the real world. So if you saw the name was SERVE, SERVE stood for the STEM Exploratory Real Virtual Environment. So the idea wasn't that they would just stay in virtual reality, but they would come in, get some projects launched there, and go out into the real world. So it's just an example of some of the many different things you can do. And kind of close here, the way I've used virtual reality is sometimes we just collaborate and discuss like you're going to do tonight. Later on, we're going to actually do some field trips, and I'm going to pose some questions to you about different places, but you're always free to come back here anytime, and you're always free to explore Second Life. So don't limit yourself. If you have more time, do come back. But this is just one of the many scenarios that you could play out in a virtual space, because it's totally within your imagination and your willingness to deal with just the agita until you start learning how to make it work. Now, the Mallet program, a group of us faculty are extremely excited about this program. We've been longing to get students to work with who really can start being open and willing to explore the uses of technology in learning, in communicating. And we have a number of faculty that are very interested in the virtual reality. It's complex. So we're hoping to get some interdisciplinary projects going, and what I'll be doing later is asking some of them to come and talk to us. So keep that in mind. We're trying to get some grants together, so you may want to join us on that. And you'll have a number of faculty who are going to come and twist your arm, particularly if you take the virtual course, and see if they can get you to do some development for them. So we're all willing to beg, because we know we have some artistic people and other people around that could help us out. And for several years now, because this is very new, this is novel, it's expanding, it's truly emerging. This is probably the most emerging aspect of emerging technology. We've had a little collaborative, and we've been meeting for a year and a half, and we'll be sending out invitations. Unfortunately, we generally meet during the day, so I don't know if that's a good time for you, but we would like to have you join us, and then we'd like to see if you could maybe join us in some projects down the road too, you know, as you get more expanded into this. But we also want you to develop your own projects. So there's more I could prattle on about, but what I want for the end of this particular thing, let me see if I can pull up another slide here from yesterday. I'd like you now to, let me see, I didn't make a specific slide. I'm going to pull one up. I had another science class here the other day. Let's see if this works. This was the kind of send-off directions for the group of science teachers that met here. We met, I think it was Monday night. So I think this happens to work. Now that we're kind of finished a general introduction, what I'd like